Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
All right. So, as Tiffany said, my name is Bree. I am a senior digital marketing manager at a company called Lev. We are a Salesforce consultancy located downtown Indy. So, been there for about 1.5 years now, and I run all of our social media pages. I run our website and do all of our design and branding. So, if you have a LinkedIn profile already, there's my profile. You can go ahead and connect with me if you would like to. So today we're going to talk about just a little bit about personal branding. I literally do a presentation that takes 2 hours for Dress for Success on this topic, so I will just cover the basics of it today, and then we'll jump into what is LinkedIn, how to set up your profile, how to stand out on LinkedIn, and then different tools and ways that you can use it beyond just another social media profile. So we'll dive in. I will say, if everyone here already has a LinkedIn, then we can skip the basics of setup. If you all just want to maybe drop in the chat whether or not you have a LinkedIn profile, then that will tell me how much time to spend on that part of the presentation.
I know I don't have a LinkedIn right now.
Perfect. Then I will make sure I spend time on it. So today I hope that you take away best ways to use a LinkedIn profile, the do's and don'ts of just social networking in general, and then how to create a presence that is proud of, or that you are proud of, and that works for you even when you're not job searching. So just to touch on personal branding real quick. So this is a quote that I keep in my personal branding presentation that I do for Dress for Success. Everything you do is branding. Your brand is either working for you or against you, but it's always working. That's especially true with social media. You know, even when you're not face-to-face with someone, people can look you up at any time. You want your social media to be helping you put your best foot forward and creating a persona that someone wants to talk to and potentially hire. So personal brand, one thing that I think people get caught up on is buzzwords. When it comes to personal brand, I am a strong proponent of buzzwords. So, opponent. I need more coffee today. Anywho, I think just having self-awareness and knowing truly what you bring to the table, not over-inflating or under-inflating yourself. So if you are, getting into a new field, or just, still early in your career, or whatever it is, just be honest about where you're at. But no matter where you're at in your career, you have value to add. So I think it's just a matter of knowing what it is and being able to communicate that. So as I said, having a good LinkedIn profile, or having a profile that people can visit and that makes you seem like someone that they want to talk to and potentially hire, is extremely important. LinkedIn is the professional media network. So if someone can visit your profile at any time, they can decide whether or not you're someone they want to hire. If recruiters are using LinkedIn, then they can save your profile and reach out to you. It's important that your LinkedIn profile is one that stands out. Assuming everyone has one or should have one, you want to make sure that yours is one that stands out from the rest. So this is just some stats actually that I stole from something Tiffany gave me to just highlight what the importance of having a strong social media presence and how social media is used in the modern hiring process. So 3 in 10 employers have someone solely dedicated to sourcing potential candidates on social media, and LinkedIn is what they use to source those candidates. So it's extremely important that you are active on there and have a profile. When they're looking at people's profiles, they're looking for specific skill sets and keywords, and whether or not you have a professional presence. If you are an active poster, you need to make sure that you are, using proper grammar and being appropriate, and just using social media well. And then also, especially depending on what field you're in, having a creative profile and one that stands out is important. So just to reiterate all of that, your LinkedIn profile is helping you find a job even when you're off the clock. It's literally an online resume, but you can add way more information than what is on a standard paper resume. So some quick tips on how to set up a profile and just knowing what each section is and what the different, the ways that you can showcase your skills on LinkedIn. We'll go through all that. LinkedIn.com is obviously where you go to set up a profile, and it's a lot of the same process as if you were setting up a Facebook page or Twitter, but obviously the information that you would put about yourself on here is probably a little different. So first things first, you can switch your profile on and off to let people know whether or not you're looking for a job, especially if you're in a job that you're happy in and you're not looking, like you can have it turned off. That doesn't mean a recruiter might not still reach out to you if your profile piques their interest, but you're more likely to show up in their searches if you have that turned on. Obviously there's an about section, so I will actually show mine as an example later on and just kind of what my reasoning was and why I wrote it the way that I did, but that would just be kind of like your objective statement or your personal summary or just a paragraph or two about who you are as a professional. So there's quite a few ways on LinkedIn. Like I said, it's a really robust resume, and a lot of the ways that you can showcase your experience and back it up and make it interactive is by posting on LinkedIn. So if you are in a field where thought leadership is important, you can, write blogs or share articles that are relevant to your field. If you are in a creative field or something where you're publishing papers or studies, obviously with, regards to privacy and all that stuff and not sharing like company property, you can upload links and PDFs and different examples of your work. These are the main fields of a LinkedIn profile. So work experience, I would add in anything that's relevant to the types of roles you're looking for. So you can add in, as many jobs as you've had, but if you've had 20 jobs and only 5 of them are relevant to the type of your role you're looking for, I would definitely recommend simplifying just like you would on a paper resume with what you feature on your profile. Education, even if you never completed your degree, you can still indicate that on your LinkedIn profile. So whatever college is, or if you have, a certificate or any of that stuff, you can put that on there. Same for licenses, and then volunteer experience. So if you're involved in your church or Dress for Success, then that's all stuff that you can put on your profile. That's especially helpful too, just when people are looking, if it's an organization that they're familiar with or aware of, that's a great conversation starter. So definitely put that type of information on your profile if it exists. So here are a few other sections of just different ways that you can back up your experience and really round out your professional self by showcasing these things on your profile. So if you are extremely successful, then you can have publications or patents, which would be awesome, or courses. So this is kind of like if you, went to school, never finished your degree, but you still took some relevant courses, you can list them all here. Same for projects, honors and awards, any of this stuff. And then a really great thing about LinkedIn that I don't think people use enough is recommendations. So this is people that you've worked with in the past, whether it was a peer or a manager or, even, maybe Tiffany or someone Dress for Success who can vouch for who you are, or, how you have grown as a professional. They can put a recommendation, and that's just like, same idea as a reference if someone were to ask for references, except for they're already out there. And it's a great way to, back up that you are who you say you are and that you are someone that people enjoy working with. A newer feature of LinkedIn is the skills quizzes. I don't think that they have quizzes for like every different field or industry, but I would definitely take a look and see if there are any that are interesting to you. So this is basically LinkedIn verifying that you have the skills that you say you do. So if you are in a technical career or there's a ton. I'd say there's probably like 200 options. But you can go through and you can take the quiz, and that will publish on your LinkedIn profile that you have this verified skill set that recruiters can search on. It will go to your profile, any of that. So this is me going back to my opposition of buzzwords. So this is actually from an article that I pulled when I was building this presentation. That was most used buzzwords on LinkedIn. So specialized, experienced, leadership, skilled, passionate, expert, motivated, creative, strategic, and successful. That means a lot of people have those on their profiles, and really they are empty words. You know, anyone can say that they are passionate and creative. You know, what that means to different people is different for everyone. And I always try to avoid buzzwords, just because your definition of what makes you creative might not make you creative to a hiring manager. And that was just kind of a waste of words to describe yourself and the value you add to the workplace. So I say, be authentic, you know, think about truly who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, you know, think through past experiences with like managers or teammates, and kind of think through common themes of what people have said about you, and why they enjoy working with you, and use that to shape the story that you tell about yourself on LinkedIn. And also I would recommend staying active and regularly updating your profile. So, you know, I saw a couple people post in here that they have one, but they haven't been on there in a while. Recruiters and potential hiring managers, they notice that if they see that you haven't, you know, liked a post since 2011, they're going to assume that you're not on there. Or, you know, I don't know, whenever I see people who haven't been on social media, I assume they're like fake people. But so just stay active, regularly update your profile, just like things that are relevant. Obviously, be careful about what you're liking, because people can see that. So if you like something that is controversial or inappropriate, that will show up on your profile. So just be thoughtful about that. I would say on the flip side though, don't be over the top. You know, on any social media, LinkedIn especially, influencers are very popular right now. But I would say, unless that's truly who you are and aligned with a career path that you're pursuing, I would just calm down and post a regular amount, share relevant articles, you know, maybe share if you have exciting news that you accepted a new role or got a promotion. Feel free to post things like that, but just don't be over the top. And likewise, I see a lot of people who will comment on company posts, or like the CEO of my company is very active on LinkedIn, and people will comment and say like, hey, will you hire me? That's not a good way to get attention. And I know that the people who do things like that are very well intentioned, but it's just not a good way to get people's attention. So I would say, when you're being active on LinkedIn, actually participate in the discussion, you know, share useful information, and that's how you'll get noticed in the way that you want to be noticed. So I should have skipped ahead so you don't use these buzzwords. So this is actually my LinkedIn bio. So I just wanted to talk through about like what the thought process was that I went through, knowing that I really don't like buzzwords and wanted to avoid using them as much as possible. I was very, I guess, mission oriented in how I wrote about myself and what I bring to the table. So I talked about what I do and why I do what I do, which is I'm a marketer devoted to creating exceptional customer and employee experiences. I expanded on that a little bit just to show that I know what I'm talking about. And then here is where I used a lot of keywords that like recruiters might be looking for. And I'll say, like, I'm not looking for a job, but always, you know, open to conversation. So I want to make sure that when people are thinking, you know, who's a great social media person in Indy, then they can find my profile, because right here I use social media. So, and then I also talk about like what industries I've worked in and all that. And then I did put a little bit of information about me just personally, because like I said, people might read stuff like that and it's a great conversation starter, and they can be like, oh my gosh, you know, I love visiting coffee shops in Indy too. What's your favorite? So I would say definitely don't stray away from sharing personal information, as long as it's professional and, you know, not too in the weeds. So now that we've talked about kind of setting up your profile, both from a technical perspective, but then also just like how you want to showcase yourself, we'll talk about actually, once your profile is set up, best ways to use it and maximize your profile. So as I mentioned before, all of your activity shows up on LinkedIn. Candidates or recruiters are seeing that, and they, they're looking at your profile for reasons to hire you, but they can also very easily find reasons to not hire you if you fall into any of these buckets. So if you are liking or commenting or even more sharing inappropriate photos or videos or information, they're probably not going to reach out to you. Same for, discriminatory or bad-mouthing employees. I actually have a funny and true story, and it's sad that it's true. There was a person who formerly worked with coworkers of mine, and I saw him post on LinkedIn, and I think he was trying to follow the whole LinkedIn influencer, funny post, and he posted something about how he asked for a raise at work and he didn't get it. So he went and got a new job that paid him better, but little did his company know that he still had access to their payroll system, and he posted that he had logged in to see that the person they replaced him with was making what he had asked to be making at the old job. And I think that he was trying to make a point about like, pay your people fairly and they won't leave. But instead that made him look like an idiot. And I believe that he actually got sued for misusing company property and illegally accessing confidential documentation like that. So that's one of those things where when you just be very thoughtful about what you're posting, because I believe that person lost his new job and yes, is now under lawsuit. So I'm saying for communication skills, just make sure that you're spelling and being grammatically correct when you're using LinkedIn. And then also just use professional headshots. I think people put a lot of pressure on a LinkedIn headshot. It doesn't need to be like professional in a suit, but it definitely should be like professionally taken, and you're wearing a suit. I mean, that wouldn't hurt, but I would say just use your best photo, maybe no selfies from the bar or any of that, and make sure that you're still appropriately dressed and all that good stuff. And then same for the posting too frequently. Like I said, there's a lot of people who will comment on my CEO's LinkedIn posts or even our companies, and comment on everything, and they say, hey, I just applied to a job, will you please hire me? And you can see if you go to their activity that they're commenting that same stuff on everyone else's posts every 5 minutes. That makes you look desperate and like you don't have a life. So I would definitely, that's a turnoff for recruiters too. So I would just say post a moderate amount, be active, but you don't need to comment on everything and ask everyone to hire you. So social media do's and don'ts. As I've said over and over in this presentation, it's super important to have a LinkedIn. That's really where recruiters go to validate your professional experience and see that you are a real person who is active in your field and all that good stuff. Obviously, be super careful about what you post online. Don't be scared to engage with people, but just be really thoughtful about what you're saying and posting and sharing and liking. Audit all of your social media. So even though we're talking about LinkedIn today, everyone goes to Facebook, creep on everyone, all of that. So make sure that your profiles, all of them are professional, that your profile photos are something that you would not be embarrassed to have a potential employer get their hands on. And even if you like to share pictures of you, drinking a margarita in the backyard, that's totally cool. I would just recommend making your social media extremely private. So you can actually on Facebook go to see view as public and make sure that all of your posts are hidden to anyone who's not your social media friend. So I would definitely do that. I would say if you obviously Google yourself, and if you see something about you that's not true or is not aligned with the image that you want to put forward, make sure it's taken down. If it's, a Twitter profile that you haven't updated since 2009, go delete it. There's no point in having that out there. And then just Google yourself and make sure that you know what's coming up when people are looking you up. So this is pretty much reiterating everything I just said. So don't post unprofessional pictures. Privacy settings, which I'm actually going to show you all some just privacy settings to be aware of on LinkedIn. And then this is a great tip, is don't connect with everyone. So kind of like I said, those same people who are commenting on every post and asking people to hire them and seem like all they do is sit and wait for someone to share something on LinkedIn so they can comment on it. Don't be that person that's connected with everyone. I would say, connect obviously with people that you've worked with in the past who you want to be associated with. And then also, people like that you meet from Dress for Success or me or someone that you've interacted with in a professional way. Go ahead and connect with them. But there's no reason for you to, if you want to go work at Community Health, there's no reason that you need to go find every executive team member there and request to connect with them. Just be mindful, if there's a hiring manager that you interview with, any of that, I think that's totally fair game to request to connect with them on LinkedIn. Just be aware though, if you don't get the job, that could be potentially awkward. But even then, if, it was one of those situations where you did great in the interview, but there was just a candidate that was more qualified, but you could still potentially be on the docket for a future hire, then that would be a great instance where you want to make sure that you're staying connected with the hiring manager, so that he remembers that you exist when he's hiring for a new role. So continuing along that same line of thought, be active. I think we've talked about this enough. Do give to get. So it's going to be a lot more fruitful for you to, be engaged in discussions and share useful links and your own original thoughts on LinkedIn than it is for you to comment on everyone's post and ask for them to hire you. Just be engaged and show that you are, active on the on LinkedIn. Ask others to do audits. So this is a great tip, just so that other people are thinking when they look at your profile, or even actually today I was on a girl I work with profile because I was using it on a marketing piece, and I saw that she had a typo in her LinkedIn title where it said like the company she works for, and she just had switched a couple letters around. But I think always just getting a second set of eyes on your profile, making sure that like everything is spelled correctly, so everyone makes typos. Just always helps to make sure that someone's noticing that stuff for you. So privacy settings on LinkedIn. This image was more to just show like where you find it. So if you are on LinkedIn and you you can see like up here is this little profile picture. If you click on it when you're on the main page and drop down, you can see settings. So this is what it will look like when you log in. There's nothing really that I would recommend changing on here. But right here is one thing to note. So I have mine on private mode. I like to look at people's LinkedIn profiles a lot and would prefer to not be known as someone who looks at people's LinkedIns all the time. So I actually have my settings turned off to be in private mode. So that's one thing to just be aware of, is that LinkedIn does tell you, or does tell people when you've looked at their profile. And if you have that setting turned on, the benefit is that you can also see who's viewing your profile. So that's something I chose to give up in exchange for my own privacy. But then there's also a middle ground. So you can, I think, see who viewed you. Or so like there's a setting where you can set it so like they'll say someone from Dress for Success viewed your profile, it won't say who, and then in turn I believe that means that you can see someone from the Indianapolis Public Library viewed your profile, but you can't see who. So that's one of those things to be aware of, that I think people aren't aware of, that was an option on LinkedIn. Another thing that you can do, especially if you're very much still in the mode of building your profile, is make sure that you have your notifications turned off. So LinkedIn actually notifies all your connections when you make changes unless you have the setting turned off. So if you know that you're going to be adding, education, even though you graduated from college in 2010, you can turn that off. That way you're not spamming your whole network. And then another thing to be aware of is I'll look at these questions in a sec, is the job seeking preferences. So this is where you know, if you're job seeking, you obviously want to let people know that you are doing that, and that way recruiters know to look at your profile. I know that LinkedIn definitely has measures put in place that if you are currently in a role, they will make sure that like people from your company are not seeing that you have that setting turned on. So that's something to just be aware of. I'm sure that there's glitches in the system, but I do think LinkedIn takes measures to make sure that that doesn't happen. So obviously letting recruiters know you're open to opportunities. A lot of LinkedIn job postings will have it so that you can actually use your profile to apply directly to the job. I will say don't let that be your only means of application. From what I understand, just knowing a lot of recruiters, is that that's kind of used as like a net, but the recruiters are always going to favor the people who went through their full application process. And most people, if you can apply through LinkedIn, that's likely not their actual application. So I would recommend going to that company's careers page and actually applying, but at least you have your LinkedIn profile attached to it as well. And then you can also, once you start searching for jobs, and LinkedIn gets a good understanding of like what keywords, and this is also where it's important to list your skills on your profile, because LinkedIn then will feed you job recommendations based off what skills you put on your profile. So because I have a lot of, you know, digital marketing related skills attached to my profile, like, you know, website design and social media and graphic design, they send me a lot of jobs where those were listed as the skills. That way I'm not sifting through irrelevant jobs all the time. So I'm actually going to look at questions. So if you are private, will others not be able to search and find you? That is not true. People can still search for you. You just won't be like, if you look at my profile, I won't see it. And likewise, if I look at your profile, you won't see it. You might be searching the wrong name. My name on LinkedIn is Bree, B-R-I Jones, not Brianna. So that might be why I'm not showing up. When you have a lot of different skills, can you just show all of them, or should you leave them off? I would add all of them, like kind of like we've talked about earlier, is avoiding the buzzwords. So if you're adding things like communication and, you know, Microsoft Word and all that stuff, I think a lot of those are assumed skills that you have, and therefore when you have super generic skills on your profile like that, you are going to be fed every single job on LinkedIn, because every single job was communication and Microsoft Word as a skill set. So that's where I would be thoughtful on the skills that you're adding and make sure that they are skills that will differentiate you. Does that help? Oh, wait, cool. So this is what LinkedIn will look like if you are looking for a job. So the salary feature is pretty new. I'm sure that you guys have all heard of like Glassdoor, which is a great website to look for salaries, and same for like pay scale. Like I said, LinkedIn's feature is newer, so they don't have as much data as some of the other sites do, but it's still helpful to just have another resource so you can compare and contrast across all the different resources and make sure that you're asking for fair pay. And then you can also see like saved jobs. So, you know, if I saw this job for IU Health and I thought it sounded super interesting, but I wasn't quite sure that I wanted to apply to it yet, I could always save it and come back to it later. And then likewise, if I apply to it and I apply to it through LinkedIn, then it will show here. Job alerts, I have used this function in the past and it's super nice. So like if you want to be alerted, you know, anytime a customer support specialist role is posted on LinkedIn in Indianapolis, you can set that so that way they'll send you an email notification anytime a new job is posted that meets your criteria. And then they have this interview prep function, which I think I included. I might have not. So the interview prep is helpful, especially if none of you gone through Dress for Success, like career prep courses that are in tandem with the interview shopping. These are super helpful. It goes through standard interview questions, great example answers, really great resource for you to just make sure that you are good and prepped when you finally get that interview. This is something that I want to point out too. So I would consider myself to be an expert job searcher. Like I always know what jobs are available right now and where they are. And it's because not only do I look at things like this, but I pay attention to these sidebars. So the nice thing about this is, you know, as I said, LinkedIn is based off keywords and all that stuff, as any social media really is. So it will always feed you like similar jobs both down here and at the bottom. So I'll actually go through this more in order, but it's nice. So I would always recommend if you see a job that's interesting, don't not pay attention to the jobs that are fed to you on either the right side of the job description and the bottom. That way you can make sure that you're always aware of what similar jobs, what other people are looking at that are looking at the same jobs as you. And you can just be aware of all the different opportunities that are available in Indy or wherever you're looking. A couple more questions that came through. So should you post links to articles that have been done on you? If yes, where? I would say for sure. That's, you know, a great profession. I mean, assuming the articles are good and put you in a positive light, then yes. I would just share, there's two ways. So you can publish a LinkedIn article where I see a lot of people will, actually there's three ways. So you can like basically rewrite the article from scratch, like in the LinkedIn article posting feature. And then you can always say like, this original article was shared on, you know, techpoint.com or something and link to it there. But then you can also just share in the feed. The con about that is that it obviously gets lost if you want it to be static to your profile. But then actually, I'm gonna go all the way back and show you where to do it. So right here, so in this featured section from when you're setting up your profile, this links section is really nice because it will statically add the link to your profile where it says like your little summary in the about section. Under there is relevant links. So a lot of people like, well, we'll put the resume there and all of that. So that's a great way. So it's just kind of like pinned to the very top of your profile. Interview prep, is it based on industry? Not that I have noticed. I think it mostly covers like the more generic questions that you're going to be asked no matter what industry you're interviewing for, like tell me about yourself, or, you know, tell me about a time when you handled conflict and all that stuff. But I could be wrong. I haven't spent too much time in it, but that's just what I have noticed from being on it for a few minutes. And should you attach your generic resume on LinkedIn? It doesn't hurt at all, especially when recruiters are looking at you on LinkedIn. It's nice because they can go ahead and save your resume and put it into their applicant tracking system. So it certainly doesn't hurt. Yeah, it doesn't hurt at all. At the top of the page, underneath your name, how should a person describe themselves? I'm multi-skilled and would like to be open to jobs in different areas. This is a tough one. I think this is one of those things that you don't want to use buzzwords because, like I've been saying, you know, buzzwords aren't really going to get you anywhere or set you apart. I would say if you are actively in a job, then I would just honestly have your job title as your LinkedIn title. Other people would disagree. I know a common practice is people will put like, you know, customer service guru and all that stuff. It really depends on the type of recruiter, but a lot of people are going to think that's a little cheesy. So I would maybe say like, health, public health expert or public health professional or any of that. So actually that's what I would do, is basically whatever field you're looking at, even if you're open to broad types of jobs, you probably would still benefit from honing that in a little bit and thinking of what field at least you're interested in, and then making that your title. So like maybe for me, if I wasn't in a role or if I wanted to just be more broad, I could say like, digital marketing professional or customer service professional or, administrative professional, any of that stuff. How do you list employment history if you have a gap? I don't think that you necessarily need to do anything. I would just say, like, you know, have your most recent position. And if you are in that gap right now, like, just still have your most recent position. And that's where you can make sure your profile makes it pretty obvious that you're looking for jobs. So, you know, just have seeking employment, make sure you have that little setting turned on that says that you're actively looking for roles. And I didn't answer a second part of the last question. So do several words make a person look undecided on what they want to do? Sort of. I think it goes back to the buzzword thing. So if you have a bunch of, you know, communication guru and people person and all that stuff, it just is a bunch of nonsense. But I think if you have a bunch of like targeted keywords, like, you know, marketing professional, web design, social media, like those are some more targeted words that make you look a little more pointed in what you're looking for. So one other thing I just wanted to point out on the job searching part of LinkedIn. So LinkedIn Premium, you can do a free month trial. I would wait to do that until you are super focused on the job search. That way you can make sure you're maximizing it and don't end up, you know, having to pay for it unless you really want to. I think it's like 20 bucks a month, so it's not terrible, but I don't really want to spend $20 a month on anything that I don't need to. But the nice thing about LinkedIn Premium is it gives you some sort of like competitive intelligence about the other candidates who've applied for a job. So if you're applying for a job that, you know, maybe is out of your skill set or you're not sure, the nice thing is it will tell you, like, based off the skills that you have listed in your profile and those keywords that the recruiter's looking for, it matches you to that job and tells you how you stack up to other candidates who, you know, have other keywords that the recruiters are looking for. And it tells you the skills that you match to and the ones that you are lacking according to the job poster. And another just cool feature is it tells you your commute, so you can put in your address and it will show you where the job is based, and it will tell you how far you have to drive or any of that. So now, I mean, that's pretty much what I have for you. If you guys want to ask questions, we have more. Interesting. I would say, so it's someone who's looking for, or in communications and PR, but looking for work in interior design. That's actually funny. When I was in school, I was an interior design major to start and switched over to visual communications design, which is fancy for graphic design. I would say this is where the part of LinkedIn comes in handy where you can showcase your work. So if you have examples of interior design work you've already done, that's where you definitely would want to attach it. And I think tell your story in your bio. So that's where, rather than just using a bunch of buzzwords like I'm a communications and PR professional, by the way, looking for roles in interior design, like that's where you can say, like, you know, after 5 years as a PR professional, I realized my true love lies in interior design, and, you know, here's why, and here, I think just being super candid and authentic there. And in terms of keywords in your, what's it called? Like the headline or whatever of your profile, I wouldn't get too caught up on it. There's a ton of different ways to include keywords, but I would also maybe lean towards making that more aspirational, of like just putting interior design professional. New features in LinkedIn.
I was going to ask if you need a title. If you've been out of work for quite some time, is it best to just not have a title?
I don't know if LinkedIn lets you get away with not having a title, but I would say, yeah, I don't think LinkedIn lets you get away with that. So I would just be aspirational probably there and say, you know, whatever type of job you're looking for, professional.
Okay.
Features on LinkedIn. I not aware of any new, but it's one of those things where I log in every day. So if they make gradual changes, I'm probably relatively oblivious to them. But I think they continue, obviously, like they have great resources like that interview prep. That's definitely newer. Same for the salary. And I think just having all that at your disposal as you're searching for jobs to make sure you're getting paid fairly and that you're prepping and that you're thinking through the types of things you want to say in an interview. Those are some of the newer features I've noticed that I think are really helpful. Title suggestion, open to opportunities. Yes, I don't think that hurts, but I also think it kind of depends on what roles you're looking for. I would always opt for just being more aspirational and like, you know, not letting your like current employment status define how you portray yourself on LinkedIn. I would rather just like, you know, whether or not you are working right now, you still have had some sort of career path. So I would put that forward on LinkedIn before I would, you know, make your whole headline open to opportunities.
Cool. What other questions do you guys have for Bree?
You mentioned a photo, and I know that a few people oppose having a photo on a resume. How can we become more comfortable with a photo being on the LinkedIn?
I think, I mean, obviously finding a photo that you like of yourself, but that's still professional. I would say that having a photo on your resume and LinkedIn are pretty different. There's actually data out there, and I can find it and share it with Tiffany to share as well. But there is data that if you don't have a profile or a profile picture on LinkedIn, then you are like significantly less likely to have your profile viewed. It's kind of just one of those things where people assume you're not active on the profile, or you know, you're one of those people that started to set up your profile and you know, quit halfway through, so you're not active on there. So I would get comfortable and just, you know, if you want to have a friend, if you just want to put on an outfit that you like and go outside and find a nice tree to take a picture in front of with your friends, like that is totally fine. But I would definitely recommend having a photo on your LinkedIn profile.
Okay, so I appreciate that. What then is the difference in not having a photo on your resume, since I guess I'm seeing the LinkedIn as an online resume system as well?
Yeah, I think it's more just like the use cases of both. I mean, a resume is a single sheet of paper that's, you know, been around for a long time, and just the use case for it is that, you know, and best practices and how it's historically been looked at is that pictures on your resume are just a big no-no. LinkedIn, while it is at its core a virtual resume, it's also so much more than that, and it is also at its core a social media network, which everyone has profile pictures on any social media platform that you're on. So I think even though they have similar intentions behind both, they are just completely different formats, and that's why I would say there's a difference.
Do you have any advice on getting rid of a LinkedIn you started up years and years and years ago, but you have no access to anymore?
I would say, do you not have like the access to the email address you used to set it up either?
No.
I'm sure that that's something I can probably find the like help resource for you. I'm sure that there's a way to do that, but it probably is a matter of like calling LinkedIn support and getting it deleted.
Thank you.
This is something I always have trouble with. So someone asked if, you know, or LinkedIn automatically lists your employment history in chronological order, but you can't update it. There is not a way to do that, and it sucks. Like, you can rearrange your volunteer experience and all that. LinkedIn, it does not let you do that. The workaround, I guess, would be to fudge the dates. So like if you have like a job that, yeah, honestly, it would be fudging the dates probably. Because I know like if you have a job that says like even if you were in a job maybe that you quit just like last month or something, and if you have a job that you want to bring to the top, you can always say that you are currently working there, and that is that will bring it to the top because that becomes your most recent role. But that's really the only way I've seen. Because I actually have that experience where I had 2 jobs at the same time, and I would prefer one over the other to stack on top, but LinkedIn will not let me change it.
It automatically puts it in chronological order.
Yeah, which is a bummer. Hopefully they change that someday.
Bree, I don't know if you saw Lisa's question, but it says, I have heard that a photo on a resume can distract from the information you want the recruiter to see. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, going back to the whole why it's different having a profile picture on your LinkedIn versus resume. I just know in general people don't like photos on resumes. It kind of is something, at least from people I've worked with, that gets not made fun of, but it's just kind of an outdated practice. And I would say don't waste valuable space on your resume with a picture, because everyone's going to go look you up on LinkedIn, and that's where you'll see your beautiful picture.
Awesome. Is there any other questions for Bree?
Do you recommend keeping your LinkedIn link on your resume, posting it there, or will people just go search?
I would definitely put the link, especially if you have a common name. Like for me, I'm Bree Jones, and there's, no less than 9 gazillion Joneses out there in the world, and I'm sure there are many other Brees as well. So I always add it, and I would, anytime I edit a friend's resume, I always recommend that they add it too.
Thanks.
Good question.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
It's historical data, but if you wanted to expand on, let's say you worked at a public accounting firm, but you wanted to expand on what your client base was like, would that be how could you put that as an appendix or a PDF file? Where would you put something like that and expanded information on your experience?
I would say, the nice thing about LinkedIn is that you're not working within an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper. So I put way more detail into the types of projects that I've worked on LinkedIn than I do on a resume. And so, but another way that you can showcase that is if you have some sort of, trifold brochure or a 1-pager or some sort of documentation that you prepared about your customer base or that showcases your experience. You can attach it as a piece of media or a PDF to your experience on LinkedIn.
So each experience can have a attachment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my job that I have now, I have a bunch of blogs that I've written and the podcast and infographics that I've made, and I have that for past jobs as well, and it's all on
there. Thank you.
Someone asked, can you disconnect from users that you've accepted their invitation in the past? Definitely yes. I think you just have to go to their profile and right near their profile picture, it'll say I think connection, and you can just drop down and say either, if you need to block them, do that, and then or you can just unconnect. I do that all the time for people who I connected with 5 years ago and don't remember why and don't know who they are. I unconnect with people all the time. Oh. Sorry, my dog's about to bark. I don't know, she's that. My mailman just came and she always barks at him.
So I do have a question that's kind of related, but LinkedIn, then if they also look on Facebook, then would you say that posts about politics are probably avoided? I've probably made a mistake in that regard.
Yes, I would definitely, especially, on Facebook, people post that kind of stuff all the time. I would just make it private to your friends only. LinkedIn, I would definitely avoid it. That's not to say that everyone on LinkedIn does. But, you know, especially in today's world, it's such a polarizing topic, and, you know, you just risk alienating.
But on Facebook, if only your friends can see it, you're okay.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I don't think it'll affect your job search.
All right. If anybody else has any other questions, feel free to chime in, but we'll go ahead and end it here unless there is anything else. You should get an email from Liz, who is our mobile service coordinator, that will send out a copy of this PowerPoint. So if you weren't able to see the PowerPoint or you just wanted to have it, you'll get a copy of that as well in your email. You'll get access to our Next Jobs training, which is a free account that you can set up and do your own resume, cover letter, other job things on there. There's all kinds of cool stuff that'll walk one-on-one. You kind of go through it at your pace. But if you don't have a resume or you need help correcting your resume or fixing it, it'll literally walk you through step-by-step how to do a resume, among other things as well. She'll talk about next week's session, which will be how to manage stress with Casey. For those of you who were on last week's topic, it was Casey. She'll be our speaker again. There will also be a link for coaching if anyone's interested in that. This will be the last week that we'll offer signups for virtual coaching. And then, of course, we recorded this session, so it will be available on YouTube. Our marketing director, Shayla, usually has it on there by Friday, so there will be a link to YouTube if you want to rewatch this or share it with anybody else who might have missed it. And then we'll send out the link for the survey as well if you don't mind taking that. It takes 2 minutes. You can do it from your phone or computer just to kind of let us know what you thought. Again, that kind of helps us get funding to keep doing these things that we do for free. Does anybody have any other questions?
Someone wrote in the chat, should I attach my actual resume to my page? I think we talked about this a little earlier, but I said it definitely doesn't hurt to do that at all. So if you want to, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Bree.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you all.
Yeah, see ya.
Thank you.